Yes, it is confirmed. Dancer Jesus is the DAYZ dev of the map team. Scotty would not have announced it if it wasn't happening. So DOJ, was Scotty lying?
Yes.
There you go. You heard it first here.
There you go. There you go.
That was a beautiful setup, and you caught that one brilliantly, my man.
Yeah.
Love your work. Love your work.
I'm excited to see though what happens there, because I feel like the Northwest Airfield, especially the south side of it, with those like kind of grey Armour 3 barracks is what I think everyone kind of calls them. I always feel like they're kind of a little bit useless in a way.
Out of place.
Yeah, because especially on vanilla servers, they don't spawn much loot. They'll spawn some bits every once in a while, but they're not really ever worth checking and stuff like that. And so it seems like it's a lot of wasted space as well in a way.
I mean, you know what? You guys on the chat, join the Discord and tell what you think of the current one.
You know what? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe your feedback is welcome.
But yeah, I was chatting with DOJ before the show, and I said, I don't envy him. I really don't. This is a massive responsibility, the update of the Northwest Airfield, because other than maybe the Northeast Airfield, it's been one of the hottest topics of contention amongst the DayZ community. When they did the rework the first time, from my recollection, it wasn't that popular. Initially, it was like, oh wow, okay, it's different, but it was just so weird compared to what we had before.
I mean, I personally liked it. I liked the old Northwest Airfield, but I really like the current version. But with the news that it's getting that rework, it's getting changed, are we going, I'm wondering, are we going to see something like akin to the old version? You know, it's more open, it's more overgrown. It would be quite interesting to see some level of I wouldn't say an underground bunker, but maybe some facilities that cater to that. Maybe just something there. I think that would be quite nice to see, DOJ. I think you should do that. I think you should do that.
Your feedback is taken in consideration.
Yeah, thanks.
Doesn't mean it's gonna be like this, but
I was just about to say it doesn't mean it's gonna happen. Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a good one. I think it's gonna fit well, more so with the rest of the map, like the new version. Because as much as Northwest Airfield is fantastic, it's great. Am I the only one that feels that it's out of place, in terms of its design and complexity?
I think, honestly, being a person who play a lot of 0.62, the new Northwest Airfield broke up the sniper nest that it used to be. It used to be nothing but a sniper place. Going to Northwest Airfield was either you're going to camp it for kills, or you were going to get camped. It wasn't necessarily a fun place to be, and half the time the loot that you got there sucked. Tizzy was the loot whore, the loot place. Northwest Airfield, while it did have okay loot sometimes, it was camped. Everyone knew where good loot was going to spawn, everything else. And I think maybe that's why people liked it, because either they were the campers or the ones hunting campers. And it was always, I guess you would say, a guaranteed PvP zone. But it improved when they went to 0.63 and beyond, I believe. Not necessarily because it removed so much PvP, but it spread the PvP into a situation where there is a vast distance between South Compound, Tent City, and North Compound. And that still can be a sniper nest, easily. But I think where they're failing, kind of like what Mark said, is South Compound, while it can be fortuitous, it has too many corners, and it's too easy for people just to sit inside of a barrack and wait to blow your head off, which causes problems, because why would I go into a barrack where I might find an M4, might find something okay, where I can just go to Tent City or Northwest Compound and find a lot better loot and actually have a better chance PvP-wise.
Yeah, I usually end up kind of nearly skipping most of the South barracks because it's just, again, it's either there's going to be somebody camping there or there's just not really anything there. So I end up always going to kind of construction site area and then just heading straight down to tents and then looting Bash and either going further to Tissy or back to wherever we're.
Now,
one of the issues.
Boydy has,
Sorry.
Boydy has kind of talked about this, and this is the construction area. Now, I think the construction area is cool, but I do believe that it's missing a lot of purpose. It's cool to see that they were trying to expand upon Northwest Airfield and build more things. However, there's no real reason to go there. It's almost entirely a useless area, and it's a pretty large area of Northwest Airfield just past the south compound. Like, I don't really ever go there unless, like, I'm actually just coming from the north itself to Northwest Airfield.
I think that's where it's changed, though, massively now on official servers. I mean, I think the last year, because obviously I come from more of an official background, there's hardly any interactions on official servers in Northwest Airfield at all these days.
I agree.
And that there is, I think that's what you guys are pretty much describing now. So I don't even hit it anymore. And now, I think about 3-4 years ago, it's the first place I'd always hit. I'd just run straight from the coast, get straight there, get a little bit kitted. Nowadays, I can be running around that for 3-4 hours, and there'll be nobody there at all.
I would even fire bait shots somebody on official servers, just see if there's anyone around, and nobody would turn up.
Yeah. I think the most interactions I've had on official servers in Northwest Airfield across multiple official servers, PC-wise I'm talking here, in the last 6 months has probably been 2 interactions. 2 interactions, and that's it. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to them updating that, because I think that will bring a lot more of the old type of action, whether it's PvP, whether it's whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Something needs to happen there. So
it would be nice to have that kind of, like, when you run into Northwest Airfield now, you don't really feel like, with the old one, you would feel very tense. Oh, am I being watched? Somebody around. Now I can run through it without feeling that way. And I'd love to be able to go back into Northwest, either solo or by a group, and always be kind of like tense as to, is there somebody here? Is there somebody looking at me?
Yeah.
Like cover.
You know what it is?
Much of it.
Like, you remember a little while ago, I think it was earlier this year, the one and his guys, they brought back the old Arma 2 Chernarus map, I think it was, and it had the old Northwest Airfield. There was all the craze. It was really popular for like a little while. I went to play on there, got a Northwest Airfield, and I felt the same fear I felt back in Alpha, and I'm like, I don't like this. And I left. I left the airfield, and I got shot at as I was leaving, and I was like, I'm never fucking going back there again. If I go to Northwest Airfield now in the current version, it's like I can easily just hide somewhere. Like, it's not that open. Like, sure, you get a little bit terrified if you're going to ATC, but then
not even that, lad. Not even that anymore, mate. Not even that. That's the thing, because I agree. A few years ago, the whole point was the skill. Can I get in and out without getting killed here? Nowadays, mate, you can walk up and down the actual central runway, and you're not going to get shot. So.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Here's a good question, though, about the whole Northwest Airfield and the lack of interaction. Is it because Northwest Airfield itself is now poor and people can't do interaction well? Or is it because the map has evolved so much, Northwest Airfield is no longer one of the main places to get loot? So
I think it's the second one. I think it's the second one easily.
I want to add something as well. One of the problems with the Northwest Airfield, in particular that southwest compound you were talking about, Marks, is those armor barracks buildings.
Yeah.
The loot distribution in those is fucking terrible.
Oh,
I will literally look at it and go, because there's always maybe 3 or 4 items, possibly if you're lucky, but it's such a big building. It's just, and there's so many of them. It's like, can I really be asked looting every single one of those for the chance that there may be something? They're nice buildings. I like them, and they are quite military looking. When I first joined the Australian Army, I lived in a barracks of a similar style. Just a long corridor with rooms off to each side, a common area in the middle. But they're very meh at best, is my opinion on them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the only way servers can make them even more popular is boosting up the loot. Maybe.
I think you're right with the loot boost, because I think I agree with what Dump said earlier. I think don't forget you got a lot of new players coming into DayZ the last couple of years, and what they don't want to do is run around when they finally are able to run around for an hour, 2 hours without getting killed, and have got a little bit of loot. They're not going to go to Northwest Airfield. A lot of these people. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's great that the devs have made the rest of the map popular now, because there was areas you just wouldn't go and wouldn't be used. So I get that. I think now the little tweak would be give us some other reason to go back there, specifically like higher loot or something. If you did that, the balance is good.
Is there an issue though with that where
DOJ, what was that?
That's awesome.
DOJ, what the fuck? How are you doing that?
As Matty's symbol, is it?
No, how?
Oh,
we lost Lemons. How did you do that?
There's like an emote icon. You can click on it.
that's funny. Isn't there a problem though if you boost the loot in Northwest Airfield? That wouldn't it make TC irrelevant?
Not necessarily, because Northwest Airfield's in Tier 3, TC's in Tier 4. And some of the best guns and equipment spawn in helicopter wrecks and in Tier 4, not Tier 3. However, that's not necessarily to say that the loot can become unbalanced if they don't do it right. Those barracks that you guys hate from Arma 2, they have tons of spawn points. And I think that's one of the reasons why people hate them, is because the loot inside of them is set to spawn low, like a low amount, that they have so many places they can spawn. But it's interesting hearing you guys talk about it, because one of the things people want more is more explorable buildings. And those Arma 2 buildings are highly explorable. And yet, here we are talking about how much you hate them because of the lack of loot. So I wonder how people would feel about more explorable buildings if the loot was the current loot number in most buildings, but they had a couple extra rooms. Would they feel the same?
Well,
it's interesting, isn't it?
Interesting. I think different variances of those buildings for people to see new stuff is definitely going to attract people, isn't it? Maybe, how about this as an idea? Certain, like they did with a certain weapon spawning in certain locations or certain heli sites. What if you had a couple of specific medium to high tier weapons only spawning Northwest? A couple only Tizzy, a couple only in heli. I mean, things like that. People prefer certain guns. Whether you like them, I like them. We'll have a different angle on what gun we want to use, and it'll all be different LAR, VSD, whatever. But if you can only go to Northwest to get an LAR, that's going to be player specific. You've got a reason to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very true.
I still think TC needs to be a toxic zone. Prove me wrong.
Oh, no.
What, as in permanent?
Yeah.
Easily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm I mean, don't get us wrong. I kind of understand why they decided to make Pavlovo and Riffy toxic zones, because it promotes you going around the map a bit more. There's a bit more worry for your kind of character to go back there. You know, you've got all this gear to go back there to get the best loot. But they really should have something there at Tizzy. They should have something there. And I could even extend that to Livonia. They really should make like the bottom level of the bunker a toxic zone only.
Yeah, I'd kind of go with, you see, you think bottom, I'd go mid or top, either one, but there's got to be something decent worth going up there for.
Yeah.
I mean, now you have to go to Tizzy to find the new plate carriers.
Yes.
The Camo 1 spawns in Cherno, so that gives you a reason to go. But
yes, absolutely.
Every time I've been to Tizzy, I still haven't found one.
I found one, mate. I found one. One only.
You're lucky.
I must have been.
Oh, so bright and awake, my heart levitates. Oh, oh, so bright and awake, my heart